Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm starting the live stream. I've been out of the pocket for a little while, and a lot of that's because I was moving and I moved into my sticks and bricks. So I wanted to give you all a tour. I felt like you guys at least deserve a little tour of my sticks and bricks. And then I'm going to just give you a little update on some exciting news. So there she is. There's my RV. I just wanted to show all of you here. I'm going to switch the camera. Can I switch the camera? Yeah, let me switch it. We're out in front of my house, by the way. And here, this is where I park the RV. So for those of you wondering, I just park it here on the city street, and that's where it goes. And that's what you can do with a 19-foot van. I park it there. I still have room here in front of the house. That is the sticks and bricks up there. Let's go up and take a look really fast. We're going to head up, and then I'm going to sit down up there. So yeah, so a 19-foot van, unlike a big Class A, you're going to be able to put that, van anywhere. This is my sticks and bricks. I just moved into this in October. That was one of the big reasons why I just couldn't do anything. I was just getting settled in, and we have a nice little seasonal creek here. It's dry, bone dry right now. It'll start running once the rains start happening, but it's really nice when it starts raining. But we haven't had rain here in California for 6 months. It's not our rainy season quite yet. That is not my minivan. That is my parents' minivan. I do not drive a minivan, but you come up through here. We're going to come up into the courtyard here. There's the van down there, you can see. Oops. See it down there? Yeah, just parks right there. Easy peasy. Easy to park it there. And it just stays there unless there's a red flag warning. Then I got to move it. So this is the courtyard coming up here. That's the main sticks and bricks house there. We're doing a lot of work. This is a fixer-upper. This is the guest house here, and my 80-year-old parents are living there right now. They have their own sticks and bricks, but because my sister and I live here in the San Francisco Bay Area, this is their kind of home spot. When they come down, they spend probably 80% of their time down here. This is our courtyard here. So we spend a lot of time here. I'm just going to quickly, I'm not going to go all around the house just because we don't have time for that. This is the main house here. This is a very mid-century modern house. So that's why I bought it. It's very Japanese. We have no, it's exposed rafter ceilings. We have not a stitch of drywall in here. And then this is my favorite from sitting in here. This is my favorite view here. I like this view because we have this kind of paneled windows here. And then let's go up here. So as we go up, we're going to go up to the second level courtyard here. And this is what took up a bunch of my time. For those of you who are following me during late last year, this is the Airbnb business that I have going. So this is, by the way, if any of you guys want to come visit me, stay in the Airbnb. Just go book it on Airbnb. I'll put the link in. This is what took so long. This is the bathroom. You might ask, why is there a window in your bathroom? I'm going to open the door here just so you can see inside. So this is the Airbnb. We actually have guests checking in about an hour, so I've got to quickly do this before they check in. I've been quite busy with COVID and everything. And then we put in, this is the bathroom. This is what took most of the time. This was the upgrade. We put this bathroom in, and I put the shower in here with a window because I stayed at this place called Ventana, and you could take a shower out in nature. And so when I put this in, I wanted to, hey, you guys get to all see me in the shower. So when I put this in, I wanted to feel like when I'm showering, like I'm showering out in nature. So that's why I put this in. So you can see, there's an electric blind. You can lower it for privacy, but for people who, and I've had guests that keep it up. Oh, and then we put in this. This is the infrared sauna. So on a nice cool evening, you get in that thing and enjoy it. Come on, Genji. Genji's my parents' dogs. Let's go. Good boy. There you go, buddy. Okay, this is our other level here. This is my dog. That's Oreo. So we have a little fire pit table, and then we have a little dining table, and then the property goes out here, back here. I haven't finished. There's just not enough time. So I'm gonna put nice walkways and all that stuff here. Anyways, but that's the seasonal creek down there that runs down there. And then it kind of goes all the way back there. And then you can't really see it, but way back there, I don't know if you can see it. Way back there. Oops, you can't see it. There you go. There's a glamping site that we put in, and maybe I'll show that to you one day, but it's kind of far back there, so I'm not going to go truck to it right now. Oops, nice view of the sky. I'm getting used to this gimbal. All right, Genji, show us where we're going. And where I'm going to go now is up to the roof of the Airbnb, and I'm going to answer your questions. So, and this is June's studio here. See that? So that's all his beautiful artwork. Yeah, this is when he's out here in the country. He's not working right now there. Check out his Instagram, Juni Arts. And this is just where he does his work. I'm not going to go inside because it's not appropriate, but that's where he does his work. Okay, so that's a little tour. We're going to go across here. So now we're on the roof of the Airbnb here. We're going to sit right here. See, that's the main house over there. And that's the guest house down there. And so, switch this over. I'm going to switch this on. Oh, let me set my camera down. Switch this on. And there we go. Okay. So I hope everyone is doing well. This is kind of new and interesting for me to be doing this. There we go. Okay. Okay, I've got my chat up in front of me so I can read your questions. So I'm going to answer your questions, but I want to give you all just a little bit of update. So I've been traveling. June and I have been traveling a lot, mainly locally here, especially during this time of COVID. And I haven't really been doing a lot of those travel videos. I just haven't. But there are some great parks, and I'll probably try to put something together that's useful for you all. So if you come to California, especially Northern California, there are some fantastic places that you can go to that are just an hour away from San Francisco. And you are in a redwood forest, and it feels like you're miles and miles away from everything. So I'll probably, put something together for you all so you can find out about those places. One of our places that we just stayed at was Samuel P. Taylor State Park, and we got very lucky. We did not make reservations. Generally, you need to make reservations for these state parks, but we wing it, and we just showed up, and we got in the first night. We got a choice site. It was great. Samuel P. Taylor State Park is one of those parks where you're not crowded in together with everyone else. So there's not a lot of campsites, but they're spaced really far apart. And the way it's designed, there are redwood trees and other natural things that are kind of giving you privacy and creating privacy. So we had a very nice little private spot. And then we loved it so much, we asked the ranger or the host if we could stay a second night and just winged it. And they said, you got to show up at noon because we don't know if there's a cancellation. So we did that. And sure enough, there was a spot. It turns out that this spot number 46. So if you go to Samuel P. Taylor Park, look for spot 46. The camp host said, you guys got so lucky. This is the nicest spot in the campground. It was right at the very top because Samuel P. Taylor kind of 2 levels. So lower and an upper campground. So the upper campground in these redwood forests and private. Beautiful. We had a kind of our own driveway. 2 or 3 cars could fit in it. Picnic table, a fire pit, an outdoor oven, and a natural redwood tree had fallen and created this smoothed out interior like a slide that you could go down, so kids would love it. Anyway, Samuel P. Taylor, highly recommend it. $35 a night, highly worth it, believe me, just for what you get. And yeah, you could probably take, a van and then a tent, and a family could go there, no problem. Speaking of a van, a family camping together, I've got some exciting news. So I just spoke to Phil, who is the CEO of Panoramic RV. You guys all know how I feel about Panoramic RV. And My RV is on its way. So it is in New York, the state of New York right now. They're registering it and getting it licensed up. And then it's going to be shipped across country. And then Phil is flying out and he's going to meet me and he's going to go over the whole van. And then he's going to hand it off to me. And he said he might do so. We might do something special. He said instead of me interviewing him, he wants to interview me. So I thought, hey, that might be, I don't know, you guys let me know what you guys think about that. So anyway, I'm getting the Panoramic RV. Now, what's exciting about this is that the Panoramic, and I'm going to do an honest, in-depth, long-term review. I'll have it for a number of months. I'll probably have it for I don't know, month to whatever time. Phil is very generous with me having it. So I'm going to have it for a while. I plan on taking it out with my parents, my 80-year-old parents. They're going to be in my RV, and I'll be in the Panoramic. And then we're going to take the both of them, and we're going to go camping together. So I'm going to do some videos about that and just got kind of spend family time that way. But it'll give me a great opportunity to really use the Panoramic and test it out in a real world situation and report back to you. Now, what's exciting about this particular version of the Panoramic is that Phil worked with me basically on upgrades to do to it for the 2021 edition. So this Panoramic has all the stuff I asked for. So I said, could you please put a compressor refrigerator in it? They had a 3-way absorption refrigerator. Check. They put a nice big, I think, European model compression refrigerator in it. Love that. I said, I love the fact that you guys have a Breville baking oven, but I would find a microwave more useful. So they put a microwave in it. Check. I thought that was fantastic. The big thing that I wanted is I wanted lithium. I don't need a ton of lithium. I'm not going to run the air conditioner, but I did want enough that I wouldn't have to really think about my electrical needs. Just running the coffee maker, the microwave, charging the laptops, just the typical stuff that you're going to do day to day on your camping trip. So they put in 220 amp hours of lithium in this rig, and I believe as well they have solar. So this is a pretty upgraded rig. There's some other upgrades on it that he's going to go over with me, and I'm super excited. What I like about Phil is he's really working closely with me because I've reviewed a lot of RVs, and he's asked my opinion, calls me about a lot of stuff, and then they actually listen and they put it into their RV. So as an example, they're putting the new Musketeer, like I have the roll down screen for the sliding door on the side, which is great, by the way. I don't like those screens that slide because they're on tracks. And then believe me, you go to the beach and sand gets in there and dirt and grit. And you know what your screen doors are like at home. Pretty soon it's, and it's not opening and closing correctly. Well, the ones that come down are much easier. And they basically have a magnet on a side. So you just pull it open. They're dead simple. They work really effectively, and they don't break on you and stuff like that. So he asked me, he's like, "Do you like this one that's on your Ascent?" And I said, "I like it, but one problem I have is the way that Pleasureway has attached it to the roof is it uses kind of industrial strength, two-sided, like 3M sticky pads. And the sticky pad on one part of it has come off from the roof, and so it's sagging a little bit. You can probably look at my videos and you can see in some of the videos that the screen's not pulled tight. On one side, it's kind of a little bit saggy. So he said, you know what? We're not going to do that because you told us not to. We're actually going to attach it properly with screws and things like that. So I'm totally excited about working with them. He said they put a new kind of panoramic RV kind of decal stuff on the side. He wants my opinion on it, so I'm going to take a look at that. So I like this company a lot. I like the quality of the work that they're doing, and I'm super excited to get into their RV. I love my Ascent, don't get me wrong, but I've had it for 3 years. And by the way, I need to go over with you all my 3-year review of the Ascent. It's held up pretty well, but there have been some problems which have crept up. None of them are deal breakers or game changers, but they are things that Pleasureway should address. Things like the screen coming down, I should attach that properly. I had just a load of problems with the MCD blinds, either going out on me and I have to pull them down, take them off the thing and then readjust them and roll them back up, especially on the sliding door because you're slamming that a lot. And what happens is that design is not meant to be slammed laterally like that. And so the rollers start to pull out of their plastic pins on the side. And then once that happens, they lose tension. And so you have to take it down completely. I have to remove the balance panel, which is a pain, and then you got to take it down, and then you got to pound those things back in, super glue them, and get it back up. Anyway, they can fix stuff like that. It's just a little bit annoying. But other than that, I mean, my Ascent has been a really good rig. I mean, I've had it for 3 years. I drove it across country. I've taken it out a lot, especially this summer. As you guys know, I've been out every other weekend traveling in it. And you know what? It's held up really, really well. Not anything major, some cosmetic things, but I cannot complain. So the build quality on that rig, thumbs up. I'm really looking forward to the Panoramic because I believe the build quality is at least as good, possibly better. And so, they offer the same 5-year warranty, I believe. So look forward to that. I'm going to be doing videos showing you, reviewing it, showing it in action, and answering your questions. All right, so that is the up, that's the update. That's what's happening. The rest of my time now, and we've got, what time is it? Okay, we've got till 3, so 45 minutes to answer your questions. I've got to help my daughter, COVID-19 homeschooling. That's part of my parental responsibilities. So I've got to help her with her science. She's learning photosynthesis today, so I'm totally into that because I'm a science nerd. So I'm going to help her with that. But in the meantime, I would like you guys to start asking me questions so I can answer them for you because it's been a couple weeks. Let's see here. I don't have any questions coming in yet, but I have my chat window open here. So feel free to ask your questions. Otherwise, I'm going to keep babbling about nonsense for you guys, or we'll just cut the live stream short. But Stephen Brady. Hi, Stephen. Stephen, I worked together at my first company, like my first, like not like it was a internet company. And so Stephen was quite young. I think, yeah, were you even 21? I don't know, but he's here on the live stream. So hi, Stephen, good to see you. And I think my neighbor as well, Jeff, is also on the live stream. So a few shout outs to people. Okay, let me see. Hi, what's your opinion on Road Trek? I see one 2001 for sale. This is from Lori, but she painted the counters and fridge don't work for 31,000. Is that $31,000? Um, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know about Road Trek from 2001. That's a little bit before my time, and so I don't know what their quality was like. Is my sound okay? I hope it's okay. Hope it's okay. So I can't speak to what their quality was like in 2001. I mean, your best bet is to go really check it out, review my videos so you know what to look for. I mean, if it's 2001, that's 19 years old. And so, you're going to expect, it's not a house, it's a vehicle. You're going to expect to see some things you're going to need to do on it. So I wish I could be more specific for you. If you ask me about a more recent Road Trek, I would definitely give my opinion, but I can't give you an opinion about a 2001. I'm sorry. Are you in the Bay Area? I am in the Bay Area. My house is here in the East Bay, just right over from Berkeley. So I'm on the eastern side of the hills, the Berkeley Hills from Berkeley, and that's where we are right here. Okay, let's see. What are your thoughts on the Promaster for the Panoramic? I talked to Phil about this. I like the Promaster. It's a fine chassis. I'm used to the Mercedes. I've only owned the Mercedes on a Road Trek CS Adventurous, and then on my current Pleasureway Ascent is also a Mercedes Sprinter chassis, and I like the safety features mainly for me. That's why I went with Mercedes. Even the older ones like mine or the 2014s, which is my chassis. I don't have the brand new 2019. So 2014 to 2018, that's my chassis year. And they put in some passive safety features like lane keep assist. Passive, it doesn't control the steering wheel, but it alerts you, blind spot detection, collision detection, all passive systems, but they've really helped me. When I've been on road trips, I've used them and they've helped me avoid accidents. So for me, that's the primary difference between the Pleasureway the Mercedes Sprinter and the Promaster. Now, having said that, I like the Promaster. I've driven it, and it's a very fine chassis. But it's also the least expensive, so there's a reason for it in the market. So if you're not going to be paying $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 more for the Sprinter chassis, you're going to get a savings generally. Now, one thing I did say to Phil is I think because they're a premium brand, that they should consider, not necessarily do, but they should do their market study and consider building on the Sprinter chassis, because I think they couldn't do their current layout. It would not easily work. The front lounge layout's difficult to execute on the Sprinter chassis because the Promaster is a few inches wider and it's a little bit longer. It's a foot and a half longer. And so that extra space translates into the ability to do a front lounge because it just gives you a proper bed in the back. You can sleep laterally in the back. On the Mercedes, it's not wide enough on the Sprinter. And so you have to do weird things like they do on the Revel, is they have to blow out the back windows and put those little flared out pieces that kind of flare out. So you get a little bit more headroom and a little bit more foot room there. And that's the space that's naturally available on the ProMaster because it's a wider chassis. So my point is that it's not easy for a manufacturer just to move their one floor plan from one chassis to the other because there are significant changes in the chassis that you have to accommodate for. But to answer your question, I think and I'm going to give you my full opinion once I get one, but the Panoramic built on the ProMaster, I think it's great. And I think it's great because I get that front lounge layout, and that I really like. I think it's a very smart layout. Okay, let's see. Could you please tell us some of the difference between the ProMaster and the Sprinter? Well, I just told you that, didn't I? Also, the ProMaster has a really tight turning radius because it's front wheel drive. And so it has a really tight turning radius compared to the Mercedes. So that's just something else to keep in mind. My sound is cutting out when I move around. Is it still cutting out when I move around? I'm hoping these AirPods are working correctly. Let's see. Are Airstreams overpriced? That is a loaded that is a loaded question. Are Airstreams overpriced? Not if you've got a fat wallet. They're not. Look, let's be honest. If you've got the money, why not? Get the Airstream. And people who have bought into the Airstream brand, particularly in their trailers, love them. They love them, and they won't move out to any other brand. And that's the reason why Airstream got into making Class Bs. Candidly, in my assessment, my humble opinion, is to capture and keep those loyal Airstream trailer owners who are looking to downsize and looking for something a little more simple. It's breezy out here. I think that's the reason why. Maybe it's breezy out here. Anyway, so they created the Airstream Class B brand. And you know what? Because the sound is cutting out, we're going to head inside. All right, we're going to head inside. I'm going to keep talking to you. They created the Airstream Class B brand. Now, is it overpriced? I mean, they make good stuff, and I have viewers who have bought Airstreams and love them, and they bought like the Airstream 19 and they love them. I think some of their products might be overpriced. I'm thinking in particular like the Atlas, because I think for the money you can get a better rig for the money, but you're not going to get an Airstream for the money, and I think that's part of the point. Is if you want that Airstream, you're going to have to pay for it. So, all right, we're inside the house here. Set this here. All right, there we go. I think that's a little bit better. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Oops. Okay, next question. Yeah, new Airstream industry is overpriced. What about a vent in the shower? Not seeing that in the kind of panoramic model photos. We love the vent fan in the shower. Yeah, as far as I know, there is no vent in the shower. I'm going to try it out and see if I need a vent in the shower. I don't have a vent in my Ascent, but I do have an opening window, and that's useful when used in combination with the fan, which is right outside the door. And I believe in the Panoramic, the rooftop fan is also right outside the door. So I'm going to be curious to find out if there's good ventilation. There is a window, but as far as I know, it doesn't open. So I will make sure that I cover that when I do the review. Okay. Someone asks, MJB asks, are you seeing quality RVs hard to come by with COVID? Heard that lots of RV purchases were made for families to bug out. I have not been to an RV dealership since my last review of the Solus. And part of the problem is because of COVID, I can't take a chance. I've got a daughter and I got my elderly parents that live on the property with me. So, but when I was there, it was and again, I haven't been to other dealerships. I've just been to their dealership. So I don't know if it's just their dealership or if it's other dealerships, but they clearly had an inventory problem across the board. And I was told by the owner that it's because of COVID. And not only were there lots of sales happening because people during this pandemic are doing more RVing, obviously, because it's a little bit more safe, but also the COVID hit the manufacturing. All the manufacturers, it hit them. They had to shut down the manufacturing lines. That's always a huge disruption to shut it down and then start it back up. But also, their supply chains were also impacted. So these manufacturers rely on a lot of third-party components to. That's my daughter. She's up on. She's doing COVID. She's doing her little FaceTime with her friends. So they rely on a lot of component manufacturers. Think of the toilets and the stoves, the microwaves, refrigerators, all the electronics and stuff like that. And those guys were also paused or shut down a lot of the time. So it affected the entire supply line. So now, as far as seeing quality RVs, I think finding quality RVs in general is difficult, even in a normal time. And you have to know what to look for. And quality, it's not a binary thing. So quality, it's just varying levels of quality. And if you watched my video about quality versus performance versus features and things like that, versus price, then you'll find it's always a balancing act, right? So if you start increasing quality, then suddenly the price becomes less attractive because it costs more. You start increasing features, then suddenly quality might have to go down. Because it's all about balancing the cost for the user. So quality it just varies and it just depends on what you're looking for. People who are driven by premium and quality, then your choices are pretty limited, to be honest. And you need to really educate yourself about what it means to be quality, because these RV manufacturers are good and they know how to do shiny surfaces and nice touches and finishes and shiny marketing, and they know how to train their sales staff so that when you go into a dealership and you walk into a rig, it looks really quality, but behind the scenes it's not necessarily built to a high quality level. So you need to learn. That's why I do my reviews, for things to look for, to let you know, are you getting something quality? And then for a lot of us, we're willing to say, I don't want to pay, the highest price. I don't care about premium. I don't want my rig to fall apart. But for me, 20, 30, $50,000 is a lot of money. And so I would rather maybe put the savings into something else. And maybe I do take it in a little more often, and maybe the warranty is shorter, but I'm okay with that, or I'm a handy person and I can do some of the stuff myself, or I have a friend that can do it. So I just don't think there's a one answer fits all solution for people. I just think it's a matter of educating ourselves into what type of consumer we are, and then understanding how to apply what you're looking for in the market when you're looking for an RV. So, long-winded answer, but that's my answer for you. Okay. Let's see. Do you have any experience with the Ford Transit from Embassy RV? I don't. I know about Ford, of course, Transit, and I know about Embassy RV, but I am not familiar with the Ford Transit on the Embassy RV. I just have to be honest with you guys. That's just who I am. So I'm not going to answer a question and BS you guys about something that I don't know about. I'll try to find out more for you. Maybe once this pandemic's over, then I'll reach out to them and maybe try to review their product, or somehow get my hands on their product and take a look at it. Okay. Let's see. Am I part Japanese? Do I look part Japanese? Do I? I am Japanese German. So I am half Japanese, and then my father's side is German. Both these are German. So yeah, good call. And that's why this house kind of appeals to me, is because it's I don't know. It feels very Japanese to me. It feels like mid-century modern Japanese. And in fact, if you looked through the tour, you could see there's all types of little Japanese touches, like outside decorating around the garden, the Buddha head statue and stuff like that. It's just all part of the theme, I guess, for my property. Okay, which Class B has the best crash test rating or survivability? Well, so a lot of that is going to depend on the chassis to start with. In general, Class B RVs are more safe than, let's say, the other classes, mainly because, by definition, a Class B RV is unibody in the sense that it's a van, right? It's a van. It's not just a cab, finished cab, and then a bed of a commercial truck or something, or a bus, which is like a lot of Class A's, and then the manufacturer builds the shell and places it on top of uh, the frame. That's not what a Class B. A Class B comes from Mercedes and Ford and Ram as a full van with metal unibody construction. So by definition, that part of like the crash test is going to be safer. Now, some manufacturers, and this is my opinion, you should educate yourself. In my opinion, I think Mercedes is, I think the Mercedes a program that they have for their master upfitters is a good program, because it ensures that any changes that a master, watch my video if you're um, thinking about what master outfitters are, just watch my video. So, master outfitters are licensed in a sense, kind of, by Mercedes to make modifications to their chassis. And as a part of that, they have to adhere to certain strict standards about, for instance, when they cut out a hole in the side of the van to put a heater in, Mercedes needs to has to meet certain specifications because that's affecting the crumple zone of the unibody and all that. So they do that. If you cut a hole in the roof, it's the same type of thing. That's why I always encourage you, if you're buying a Sprinter, to make sure that the person doing the modifications of it is a master upfitter, because A, they're going to be adhering to standards which are there for your safety, but also B, when you then take the RV into, let's say, a Mercedes Sprinter maintenance shop, and let's say they have to start removing components and things like that in order to get back to something to fix it. If they're a master upfitter, those costs are covered. If they're not a master outfitter, you're going to pay for those costs to take them out, and you're going to pay for those costs to put them all back in again, just so Mercedes can get to something that they needed to get to. So the costs can add up. So I think being a master upfitter enhances the safety features. That, in combination on a Mercedes with their built-in new on the 2019 Sprinter chassis, active safety features. So it actively, if you get out of your lane, will nudge you back in. It'll actively hit the brakes if it sees that you're going to be into a collision and things like that. I think that makes it a little bit more safe. Now, Ford has more active safety features on their new Transit as well. So they're kind of catching up, and they kind of split the difference in terms of price between a Sprinter and a Ram. So they're kind of split the difference, although they seem to be eking up a little bit closer to the Sprinter and Mercedes in terms of price and safety features. So just things to keep an eye on. I'm not saying that the Ram is not safe. I think it is safe. Class Bs in general are safe, and these auto manufacturers, that's who they are, have very strict, standards that they have to adhere to in order to, market and sell their vehicles. So anyway, that's my opinion about the chassis and RVs and safety features. And then there are other things as well that you should look for if safety is a paramount importance to you. So when you go in, that's why I point out things like 3-point seat belts. Does the coach have 3-point seat, or does it only have lap restraints? Because a lot of people want to take their grandkids with them, and I get it, but do you want to have your grandkid just in a lap restraint if you get in an accident, or do you want them in a 3-point seatbelt? You need to decide. Do you want to have headrest so that if you slam on the brakes, their head hits the headrest, or do you want their head to whip back, or slam into the wall behind you? These are things that the coach manufacturer should be thinking about and should be putting into the build out of the interior of the coach when they create it. Other things like positive locking cabinets. That's why I go over things like positive locking cabinets, because it is a safety feature. If you're driving down the road, you don't want a drawer to come flying out of its rails and hit someone or hit something. And likewise, you don't want the cabinets flying open and stuff tumbling out and coming out and stuff like that. So just just things for people to be thinking about, if safety is important to them. Um, let's see. The used Class B RVs seem to be priced too high. I should wait a few years. Sure, or not. I mean, prices they're going to vary. Probably right now they're higher because there's a scarcity of Class B RVs that are on dealer lots right now. So I think it's driving the market into the used market. And then certain brands within the used market also um, tend to command a higher price than others. So for instance, Pleasureways and Airstreams tend to command a higher price in the used market than other brands. So just be aware of that. What is my opinion on leisure travel vans? Um, I like leisure travel van. I think they have good designers. I think they have good interior designers. I like their layouts. I like some of the innovation they do. I like their materials and their fit and finish. Um, I've had some concerns recently about their quality. Although to be fair, I haven't reviewed one of their coaches in probably over a year, so I think that I need to say that. But when I did review them last year in 2019, I don't know if I did a 2020 yet. Um, I was a little bit concerned for the price. I was a little bit concerned with some of the quality stuff. I understand why these manufacturers make certain decisions that affect quality. I'm not saying that they purposely they're not trying to purposely create a low quality rig. They're trying to balance a bunch of different factors from cost to weight to features and things like that. And it's always a balancing act. And so, but I just feel that for the price point that they're at, and what their brand represents, there were some quality issues around some of their stuff. So I mean, it's not like I would look at it and say, oh, I would never buy that. But I think they are premium, and if they're going to be a premium brand, then I think they need to offer premium quality builds and things like that. So that's just my opinion. But I like them. I like leisure travel a lot. Okay. Do you ever spot models from other markets that you wish were available in our market? Oh yeah, all the time. I love some of like the European models out there, Andrew Ditton and some others there. I watch their channels because they review European RVs. There's a lot of interesting innovation going on in certain markets. Asian market is starting to pick up as well. In particular, like Hyundai has come out with an RV in South Korea. And so if June and I ever go to South Korea, then I'm going to be reviewing the Hyundai. I think it's Porist, like Forest, but like Porter, because they have a car called the Porter there. I think it's called Porist. It would be a poor name. They wouldn't market it as the Porist here, but it's called the Porist, and it looked really nice. I saw a YouTube review of it. So there's something like Adria that had that really cool bathroom that had the convertible bathroom where it pivoted, so you could kind of swing the sink out of the way in the toilet, and then you had a shower stall all to yourself without really having to deal with the toilet and sink while you're taking a shower. So I think they're doing some innovations there. But in the American market, we're pushing in different directions that American consumers find important. So our electrical systems and things I think are kind of farther ahead, at least last time I checked, than European. But where we do, I think, lack a little bit is in some of our layouts and things like that. I think Europe has some really cool innovation in terms of the layouts that they're doing on their RVs. What's cool is sometimes those like make their way, because Dusseldorf has one of the biggest RV shows in the world, and almost all, or I don't know if almost all, but some of our RV manufacturers from North America go there and they see that, and then they bring some of these ideas back. I'm not saying, but I think like the Travato, the original Travato, and then the 59G, and then the K, I think those may have been inspired a little bit by, at that time, back in 2014, some things that Winnebago saw happening in Europe when they went to the Dusseldorf um, uh, RV show there. I don't know for sure. I never talked to anyone about that, but I'm sure that does happen. Okay. Um, let's see. Do you ever plan to go back to reviewing RVs near the frequency as before? Couple things will change. I will go back to reviewing RVs. I like reviewing RVs. It's fun for me. I can't do it right now because of COVID. It's just too dangerous for me. I tried it out and I loved doing it when I did the Winnebago Solus, but um, it's just too dangerous for me to be in those showrooms. And it's a public place. People are touching and coughing on stuff, and I can't take the risk. I'm sorry. I would love to, but I can't risk my family, my parents, and my daughter. I can't do that right now. So I will get back to it. Now, will it be the same time? I think they're going to be live. I think I'm going to stick to live reviews. I've got it down. I know I prep ahead of time, so I know what to look for and I know what I'm going to say. And so doing it live, I think there's an immediacy about it. And you get all kind of the same information, but also it affords you the opportunity while I'm doing it to ask me questions or just ask me to go in to look at something a second time, or maybe I glossed over something. So it gives you an opportunity to ask me in real time to go back and look at something. So I really like that aspect of live. And so if I do it, I'm going to be doing lives. Now, will I do it weekly? The biggest challenge for me right now is every RV, even though I'm in the Bay Area, every RV dealer that I need to go to is at least an hour, hour and a half away. So it's a big investment of my time just to go to the dealer and then do it and then come back. And so I'm not going to promise that I do it weekly. Sorry. I'd like to do more of what I'm doing as well with Panoramic RV and working with these manufacturers to get their models into me so that I can do really in-depth, not just show up at the showroom, but actually use their RV, really use it like I use it in camping, and then report back to you what works, what doesn't work, what did I really feel about the quality of these types of things. So I'm hoping other manufacturers will follow what Phil is doing at Panoramic and allow me to, use some of their RVs for longer term like that. I think that would be a benefit to them, and it would be a benefit to you viewers as well. Let's see. Ben asks, I'm 6'4". What RV would be good for me? I don't know if any Class B would be good for you. I'm trying to think. The only Class Bs that might work for you are going to be the ones that have the twin bed setup in the back with the bench seats that face each other. And I'm thinking specifically of like the Winnebago. Is that the Travato? I think. K, I believe that. I don't remember if Thor Sequence is making that layout yet, but that some of them have. I think Coachman has one as well, a layout like that. But those are the ones where you can get a little bit more length on one side than the other, and it might be able to accommodate you if you're 6'4". But you're pretty tall at 6'4", and you're probably going to be ducking down anyways inside because most of these vans are 6'3" maximum height. That doesn't include the step ups. That's the lowest point where if there's any step ups, you're going to lose 2 to 3 inches as well. So that's a hard. Sorry, but Class B vans, just by their nature, are hard for taller people. But that's why I always show me laying in the bed, tell you what my height is, as I show you in the shower and stuff like that, so you can get an idea of how cramped it's going to feel for you. So when Sandra's asking, are my parents from San Francisco originally? My parents, their place is up in Placerville in the Sierra foothills. And we're all originally from Ohio. I came out here though when I was a teenager. But today, their Sticks and Bricks is in Placerville. They have a nice, beautiful property in the Sierra foothills. But when they come here, they stay here at my guest house. Yeah. Let's see. Since you live in Berkeley, can we guess who you're voting for? I don't live in Berkeley. I don't live in Berkeley. I live on the other side. I live in a different city on the other side, which is not Berkeley. So, and I'm not telling you either way who I'm voting for or what my political affiliation is. Although you can probably tell, right? Because I've got my, oops, can you see my shirt? There it is. You can probably tell. I don't need to tell you. Are the Panoramic RV warranties going to be valid in the US when you buy them in Canada? That is a great question. Probably. I don't know how you're going to be able to buy it in Canada. You can't really buy an RV in Canada, and then unless, like in my case, you lived there. So maybe you're talking about if you've ordered one right now. I believe your chassis, it's an American chassis, and I believe the way all the paperwork and customs works is not considered that you're buying it in Canada. But I believe, to answer your question, I think the warranty I think Panoramic will, obviously they have to honor their warranty for you. The bigger question is, make sure, I believe, at least for the case of the Mercedes, you need to make sure that the chassis is American, because like my chassis is Canadian and my warranty isn't covered here in the United States. I would have to take it to Canada to get any Mercedes Sprinter warranty work done on it, which is a bummer. So something to be aware of. I don't know if that's the case with Ram, with Promaster, and with Ford. I don't know if that's the case. I do know it's the case with the Sprinter. I think I answered the question about the chassis. How do they plan service with no dealers in the US? So that is a great question. And I will ask Phil that. I believe they're trying to build out their dealer network, but that's going to take years for them to build out their dealer network here. And I'm not sure how Phil's handling that, like if they'll fly and pay for a mobile repair service to come out to you, or if they have struck up some dealer. Generally, a lot of these manufacturers, at least like Pleasureway, for instance, allow you to take, I can take my Pleasureway to any dealer. They don't have to be a Pleasureway dealer, just any RV dealer. And they'll pay for it if it's under warranty, they'll pay for the work. They'll work it out with the dealer. I would imagine, I'm not promising this because I haven't spoken to Phil about this, but I would imagine Phil will do something similar to that. So you can just take it to any reputable RV repair place, and Panoramic will work with them, and then they'll directly pay the dealer for the work that needs to be done, I believe. But again, I'll ask Phil that. I don't know the exact answer, and I don't want to promise that to you, but something like that has to happen, because no one's going to pay that much money for an RV and then not be able to get repair work done on it in a convenient manner, if that makes sense. Okay. Okay. Alfie asks, can you elaborate more on all winter and who has the best rig? Okay, we've been over this before, so let's go over it again. What does it mean to be all winter? There is no industry, at least here in North America, there is no industry standard definition for winter ready, all season. There's no definition for that. And so you, as the buyer, have to go in with your checklist of understanding of what it is that you're looking for something to meet your needs for each season of camping. Okay, so the big one is winter. Summer, spring, and fall, you're probably going to be okay. Winter freezing, this is the real problem with RVs. And so, if you have a big Class A, they're generally not a problem, because all the components with liquid in them, from your tanks, your holding tanks, your freshwater tanks, all the pipes, all of that stuff is built within the walls of the chassis. They're not exposed to the outside. So there's a basement on those Class A rigs. They put heat ducts in them, and then all your holding tanks are down there. All of your piping for the rig all go down into there, and they're all heated. So as long as you have the heat on in a Class A RV, you're good. That's not the case in a Class B and many Class Cs. Well, some Class Cs, that's not the case as well. Some Class Cs have a little bit of a basement, and they can put the tanks under there and stuff like that. But Class Bs, generally, there's no basement, right? So your tanks, you go crawl up under the RV and look, and the tanks are exposed. They have to be. They're hung right underneath the chassis, and there's no space to build any type of basement there. So that means anything that's outside, if you go up under the RV, which I do when I do my reviews, and you see tanks, holding tanks, freshwater tank, black tank, gray tank, you see red and blue water lines, stuff like that. Those are all exposed to the elements. And in cold enough weather, they're going to freeze. Okay, your discharge lines from your black and gray water tank, all that stuff's liquid in them, they'll freeze. So then the question becomes, what can you do about that? Okay, well, the answer is you can have all your tanks exposed, you can have all your lines exposed, and you can still go camping. There's nothing to prevent you from going camping. You may not be able to use fresh water because there won't be any fresh water in your tank. And you may have to add antifreeze into your black and your gray tanks to keep them from freezing, right? But you could still go camping in it. So if you don't want to have to worry about that stuff, like my Ascent has all the tanks except the black tank, but it has, is the black tank exposed? I know it's up in the cab. I don't know if it's above the floor or below. It doesn't matter. Anyway, when I camped in Quebec, I would just flush with antifreeze. So I wouldn't use water. I just had a thing of pink antifreeze, and then I would just flush, and that would keep, even in the coldest -30-degree cold winters there, it would be enough that it would keep the black tank from freezing. And I rarely used the gray tank, but because I didn't have any fresh water. But if I did use jug water or something, again, I'd chase it with enough antifreeze that I could keep the tanks from freezing. And I always kept the freshwater tank empty or filled up with a little bit of antifreeze itself. And then the water lines, the red and blue water lines, were exposed outside. But again, I would never use those in the winter because they would freeze up. So if I wanted to have water, I had to carry jug water. When I wanted to flush, I had some antifreeze in there. But I still do camping in the winter in Quebec. Now, some rigs they've moved, for instance, the black tank, a cassette toilet. They've moved that inside of the RV. That's one of the advantages of a cassette toilet. So that won't freeze. Some manufacturers, and I cover this in my reviews, they move their freshwater tank into the chassis. So that won't freeze. Almost every RV has the gray water tank, because it's so big, hanging on the outside. So then you have to look at things like, do they have heating pads? Well, heating pads will work to a certain extent, but let's face it, if it gets cold enough, those little itty bitty think about a heating pad you put on your butt. They're not going to keep the tanks from freezing, especially if you're driving down the highway at 70 miles an hour. The wind chill factor, it's going to freeze those tanks even with a heating pad. So then you have to look at, well, does that tank have an insulated box around it? What type of insulation's in it? And then some manufacturers will actually put, they'll route heating, either electric or a lot of times it's hydronic heating, glycol they'll put in through there, built into the tank itself, as well as an insulated box around it. And that will go to much lower temperatures. So you can keep your freshwater or possibly your gray water tank out there from freezing. And then they move all the water lines inside. So they move them up under the floor. They raise the floor just a little bit, maybe an inch or so, and then the piping can fit through there. So that's all inside your chassis. Then all you have to really worry about is your dump station, right? Because if you're going to try to dump, there's fluids which can set up in there, and the pipes there to where the valve is. So from the tank to the valve, there's fluid in there. And if that's not wrapped or protected or something, again, in a Class A, that's in the basement generally. So it's heated. But in a Class B, it's exposed. And so you have to figure out a way to prevent that from freezing. And then there's the added thing about like your lithium batteries. Lithium batteries, lead acids are okay, obviously, because we use them all the time in our cars in the winter, but lithium batteries do not like to be charged in below freezing. They can be discharged just fine in below freezing, but they don't like to be charged from solar or the alternator or anything like that. So you need to be aware of what to look for, like, is the battery on the inside of the coach? Is the battery management system smart enough is there a temperature gauge on it so it can measure the temperature of the lithium batteries and know when it can start charging and not charging? As an example, in the case of my Ascent, the batteries are up in the back underneath the back seat, so they're inside. But when I first come out into the RV in the winter, it's -30 degrees inside the RV. Those batteries are -30 degrees. So even when I start and warm up the inside of my Ascent in Quebec, I'd have to wait 30 minutes or more until the batteries themselves, ambient temperature, heated them up. And then I knew that the battery management system did not have a temperature control gauge on it. So it wasn't monitoring the temperatures of the battery. So I had to manually disconnect the batteries. There's a big red thing, and you turn it, and you literally pull the key, and it disconnects all the charging into the battery from solar and alternator and all that. So these are just the things you need to be aware of. You need to look for if you're looking to do 4-season camping. Okay, I spent too much time on that, but I thought it was important. Okay. We live in SoCal and retired this year. We had hoped to buy a Class B Travato Ascent this year, but no. Do you think next year the inventory will be better? Yeah, I mean, I think the inventory is getting better now. I'm not sure. I haven't spoken to some of these CEOs in a long time, but I think the inventory is getting better. And I think as time goes on, they will get better and better, and the inventory will pick back up again. Let's see. Casa Rocanante says, one thing we noticed between Promaster and transit-based RVs and sprinter-based RVs is they seem to have more tripping hazards in Class B units built on Promaster or transit. Is that what you see? Yeah, so tripping hazards on the floor. So when you guys walk in, and this is a good thing, look for this. I believe the Promaster, because it's front wheel drive and some other stuff, it always has that step up into the cab that's always there. That's not there in like, in the generic Sprinter, Mercedes Sprinter, that's not there. Now, some manufacturers, depending on the layout, they will put a step up there. Like if they have a front lounge, they'll put a step up there. But by its very nature, the Sprinter chassis doesn't have that. Oftentimes, there's one in the back as well, back around where the rear axle is as well. So the fewer of those that you have, the better. I like to be able to walk front to back with no trip hazards at all, and no way to bang my head and my shoulders. So when I first go into an RV, that's the very first thing. I walk front to back and I monitor and see, how many step up, steps down? Do I have to duck my head like if I go into the cab? And like, is there a TV or something protruding out where I have to go like this? Because any one of those things, I've owned RVs enough now, you will constantly hit your shoulder. You will constantly hit your head on things, and you will trip up at night getting up to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. So anyways, those are the trip hazards you should look for. Is it better to buy an RV out of state versus someplace like La Mesa RV? The recommended best practice is to purchase an RV close to you. And the reason for this is because of maintenance. What's happened is since about 2014, maybe 2015, Class B sales really took off very quickly. It grew and grew and grew. And the service capacity for these dealers didn't keep pace. They weren't ready for that. They were used to selling travel trailers and stuff like that. And so, long story short is, until they get, and some companies like Airstream are trying to address this by having their own dealerships. So Airstream dealerships, where they can more guarantee to their buyers that they'll be able to get their rig in for service. But what happens is, if you buy from a dealership out of state, and then you need to take your RV to your local dealership, the dealership will try to service you, their business, but you will always be behind their current customers. And they are always behind their current customers because of this impact of the last couple of years, Class B selling faster than the RV dealerships could upgrade their service department. So long story short, you will always be waiting weeks, if not sometimes months. And I've had this experience because I bought my RV in Canada and I'm here in California. I'm always behind the local people who have bought their RVs from that dealer. And then eventually 3 or 4 weeks later, they'll be able to get me in. So that's just what you have to be aware of if you buy out of state, then that's got to work for you. Okay. Do you know of any companies that make Class C vans in Canada? Yeah, Leisure Travel and Pleasureway. They both make Class Cs. They call them B pluses, but there's no such thing as a B plus. It's only a B plus is a made up marketing term that these manufacturers use because they know that people love Class B vans. And there's a positive association with them versus a Class C. People, have a certain mental association with the Class C with that big overhead over the cab and stuff like that. But anyway, Leisure Travel vans are all Class Cs, and then Pleasureway makes their, Class Cs as well. So those are two companies out of Canada that make Class C vans. Okay, lots of good. You guys are discussing things here and helping each other out, and I'm reading it, and it's like good. Yeah, you guys are correct about what you're saying here. I want a Dodge Ram Winnebago Solus without the darn pop top. Can you pass that on? Or Revel built the size of the Dodge Ram. I will. I'll pass that on. Sure. I don't know if they'll listen to me, but I'll pass that on. But that's the whole purpose, I think, kind of the Solus. Maybe is the pop top. I think, because if you don't have that, then I believe kind of what you have is the Travato, regular, Travato with the front lounge type of thing. So I think the pop top is the thing that makes the Solus. But I mean, I could be wrong, and maybe they're watching this video and um, they'll read that. Okay. Would you recommend what do you recommend? Winnebago Bolt 70BL versus the Airstream Interstate 24 Lounge. Wow, those are two really different rigs. um, I haven't reviewed the Winnebago Bolt 70BL. I did review the Bolt, but I don't think I did the 70BL. I have done the Interstate Lounge. The fit and finish. My daughter's up there. She's like, "Hey, it's time for us to do our science." So I'll have to wrap up here in a second. I got to go off to my photosynthesis class. I'll need to do a comparison video, but here's my thinking. I don't believe, unless anyone knows, I don't believe Winnebago changed their warranty on the Bolt. I think there was some talk that they were going to change the warranty on the Bolt, but I don't think that they did. And that's one of my biggest concerns about it. At least with Airstream, I believe you get a 3-year warranty. Although I think for the price point they're at, they should offer a 5-year warranty, but at least it's 3 years, I think. And if that's the case, and Winnebago's only offering a 1-year warranty on the Bolt, then that's a huge problem in my book, because the Bolt is not inexpensive and it's trying to compete, I believe, as a little bit as a premium product. And so that would be my first red flag if I were a buyer, because you're up in kind of the stratosphere on pricing there. And at least with the Airstream, you get a brand and you get a look and you get a 3-year warranty. I'm not here to tell you if it's worth that. I'm just telling you that's what you get. And if I just strictly look at it with the Bolt, I'm paying a high price, maybe not as high, but fairly high price. And I don't know. I have to check getting a 1-year warranty if that's the case. If it's not a 1-year warranty, then I'd have to relook at it. And I know this isn't always the case, and I get beat up a lot about this, but to me, warranties always say a little bit something about what the manufacturer truly believes about the build quality. I have not myself, that's me, in all the rigs that I've reviewed, I have not reviewed a coach with a 1-year warranty that has had a build quality of a coach that has a 5-year warranty. I've reviewed some coaches that have had longer warranties, like 6-year warranties, that had not as good build quality, maybe something a little less, but I've never reviewed a coach that had a 1-year warranty where I went into it and I said, holy moly, this thing is so well built. They should offer more than a 1-year warranty. Maybe on the Coachman, although I think I said that maybe on a Coachman, I was surprised on some of the build quality of the Coachman, and I was hoping they would offer a little bit more of a warranty on it. So that's my thinking there is, I think if they're offering a 1-year warranty, to me, that's just a little bit of a red flag about the build quality, because otherwise, if they built it to a higher standard and they actually put the money in that they have to do and took the time, because they have to take the time to build a higher quality product, and the costs go up, then why wouldn't you just offer a longer warranty, right? From a business standpoint, right? You know it's going to hold up because you built it to a higher quality. So if you built it to hold up for 2 or 3 years, why not offer a warranty? So it always in my mind is like, well, obviously you didn't. You didn't do that. You built it for a 1-year warranty because that's the quality that you put into it. That's the care you put into it. I know I'm probably going to get some of these manufacturers going to hate me for that answer, but that's just the way I look at it. That's my opinion about it. That's how I think about it. I'm a businessman. That's how I would look at it. I know when they have a ledger, I know that they're finance people. There's a line item there for, how much dollar amount are they going to put in there for warranty work for every unit that they build and sell, right? And so it's always, they have to balance it. So the people manufacturing it can say, you know what, we're going to put a little more time, a little more effort, and we're going to build it to a higher quality. And so we think it's going to last 2 years, 3 years. So you don't have to put we're going to put the money over here. You don't have to add a huge line item over here for repair work, right? And that's just how it works. And that's my thinking, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. Let's see. I can answer like one more question. That's all I can answer. So the current house will crash by 2021. Pleasure Way. Someone's saying the Pleasure Way warranties, are they transferable? They are not. So Pleasure Way, unlike some warranties, are not transferable. Transferable means if I sell my Pleasure Way to you, like I still have 2 or 3 years left on my 2 years left on my warranty. If I were to sell my Ascent to you, those 2 years would transfer to you, but Pleasure Way doesn't do that with their warranties. It's not transferable. Okay. Let's see. Anyone else have any other questions for me? I love these. I love these sessions. I hope you guys find them useful too. And I loved having you here in my home. It's kind of nice, special during this COVID time to be able to invite you into my home and answer your questions. So I hope all of you have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope if you're looking at buying an RV that you have the best of luck. It's a wonderful time to be RVing out there. The campgrounds are just full now with families who are out in the great outdoors, enjoying it, taking hikes and things like that. So if you're thinking about getting an RV, then I'm here to support you and help. And please do, because I think it'll preserve your sanity during this time. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. I will try to do a live stream another maybe week or so like that. Or maybe if I go camping, I'll take you along with me, okay? All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.